Hey there gamers, Happy New Year! This is just going to be my look back at a bit of what I achieved in 2014 in gaming, and also a little hint as to my New Year's resolutions in gaming for 2015, which I will expand upon in another video. So for me, the main thing that I achieved was playing a lot more with my Menoth in 2014. The first tournament I ever went to was pretty much the end of 2013, which was in November. That was Blood and Oil. So I decided after I really enjoyed it that I was going to try and go to a few more, which I did achieve. We went to the ETC this year, which was fantastic. Lee and I won a paired doubles event, and I have my first and only Steamroller first place coin, which I'm very proud of, and I'm not sure I'll ever manage to blag another one of those, but who knows. There was all sorts that went on in 2014, but a big thing for me was finally painting up a Colossal and a Battle Engine, both for Menoth obviously, my Judicator and my Vessel of Judgment. Love both the models, love using them both. Recently I haven't found myself using the Vessel of Judgment too much, which is a real shame because it's a fantastic model and its rules are amazing as well. So sneak preview, I have decided to use it again in 2015, but we'll be more on that later. Speaking of 2015 then, my resolutions. What am I going to do in 2015 in gaming? Well, what I've thought about is that I have a lot of projects floating around that are unfinished. I have a lot of stuff that's unpainted. I wrote out a list of all the models for Menoth that I have that's unpainted, and it is a lot. And what I really want to focus on doing is getting to the point where I can play in 3-list events with all of that stuff fully painted, because once it's painted and I can always go back to it and always use it. So something I've decided to try and do is I'm going to pick 3 lists, which I will go over in another video, and then I'm going to go 100% yes, committed to those. I'm going to play them for pretty much the entire year, unless something crazy comes out, which it probably won't because it's Menoth and we get things like the Indictor, which is rubbish. So yeah, I'm going to paint up everything I need for those 3 lists. I'm going to play them, and hopefully by consistently playing the same list I can get better with them, because it's just tournament experience that's what I need. The lists that I've made are decent enough, well-rounded lists where they draw on the influence of top players, so I know the lists work. It's more my level of gameplay with them that is the limiting factor. So yeah, resolution number 1 is going to be stick with Menoth, play Menoth painted, and play consistent lists. Second thing is going to be my Legion of Everblight, which I've started for part of my Journeyman League. I am slowly painting the stuff up. You've been seeing the video updates appearing on this channel. Third one's due very soon for December. I want to get to a point where everything I have for Legion is painted. It's as simple as that. I don't have that much. I'm not really interested in getting loads of units. I just want to run all the war beasts, and I've pretty much got all of the war beasts, so I'm just going to try and paint them up. I've got a few casters. I've got both Veils. I've got Lilith 2. I've got Seren. So they're the best casters in Legion, arguably. There's no reason for me to go and buy loads more when they're not my main army. They are a secondary army, something that I can just play with when I fancy a break. So I'm going to do that. That is going to be another goal, and I think that's one that's achievable. My third goal, this is the big one, this is the one that I'm not sure whether it'll actually happen, is Warhammer Fantasy. It's the game that I started with back when I was like 8 years old. It's the game that then brought me back to the hobby when I was at university. My Night Goblins. I want to get my Night Goblins painted at a playable points level. At the end of last year, Leicester Fat Cats put on the Raise and Ruin tournament, which was a 2,500 point Warhammer Fantasy tournament where all armies had to be fully painted. And I remember seeing some of the photos and just wishing that I'd not only been there to see those armies, but been taking part and playing against them, because I do like Warhammer Fantasy. The reason it's not my main system anymore is because the rules have too many gaps in them, and you have to, the way I see it anyway, playing Night Goblins, is you've got to have fun playing. And perhaps tournaments with Fantasy is not the way to do that, but if I can just push and get 2,500 points of Night Goblins in a reasonably competitive list, but I'm not bothered about anything crazy. I just want to paint up some standard bricks. My giant needs finishing, you know, just standard Night Goblin stuff, fanatics, etc. Get all of that painted, and then hopefully I'll be able to attend Raise and Ruin, and if so, obviously I'll be filming that and putting it on the channel. Because once they're done, and I can then bring them out every time I fancy a game of Warhammer Fantasy, and they're there for me to use. And they always look better painted, because everything does, even when I paint them. A couple of other little resolutions then, because I don't really want to dive into too much more. I don't really want to commit to other systems, because if I do, that will draw my attention away from the things that I've just spoken about, the things I want to commit to heavily. However, I do now have a completed Magic the Gathering deck, which I'm yet to play a game with. I know I've got a few games arranged in the coming months, and I'll hopefully film them and be able to put them up on the channel, but I'm not looking to dive in to Magic. I just want to be able to play some games with it, because I do enjoy it, as again a little side thing that I can dip into now and then. And once you've got one deck, effectively, I'm sure once I get back and play some games, I'm like, oh, I could build this deck as well. But I'm going to try not to do that. I'm going to try and just stick with what I've got. It's an Izzet deck, so red-blue, built around Spellheart Chimera and Young Pyromancer, which I know is like 3 years old and all the rest of it, but I don't care. I've enjoyed it so far. The one thing that may well tempt me in is the fact that this is distractions, things that's going to pull me away from my normal resolutions. People down the gaming clubs have been picking up Drop Zone Commander, which is a game I've been looking at for well over a year. Really fancy a Shaltari army. We'll have to see. Maybe this time next year I'm massively into Drop Zone. I don't know. We'll have to wait and find out, I guess. I'm going to try and not really dive into anything else. That's what I'm saying now anyway. It's January. Who knows what could happen in December. But yeah, they're my goals. Do you guys have any New Year's resolutions? Are you aiming to get anything in particular painted this year? Are there any tournaments you want to go to this year? Leave a like, comment below, let me know. Be interested to hear. And maybe I'll see you at some tournaments this year. I've got SmogCon coming up, which is in February. I'm hoping to get to the Welsh Open. I'd love to go back to the ETC again, and maybe some more. So until next time, happy wargaming!